Welcome to episode 5 of the Home Studio for Beginners course here on the Record Mix Repeat channel. I'm your host, Rusty Smith. This episode is going to introduce you to the fundamental layout and functions in a digital audio workstation, also known as a DAW. DAWs are by their nature very complex software programs. They have to be complex because there's a lot of layers to what they can do. The DAW I've spent the most time working in is Pro Tools. Mixing and editing 9 to 12 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, mixing movies and TV shows at Sony Pictures and Universal Studios. I don't think there was ever a week that went by that I didn't at least once say out loud, I didn't know you could do that in Pro Tools. And I can tell you, I knew that program and still do very, very well. I mean, it's just that deep. When it comes to working in music, I still work in Pro Tools because it is fabulous editing and mixing software. I started a project a couple of years ago in Reason software, and I found it to be more music-oriented than Pro Tools, and I liked the way the work flowed. However, in the past 6 months, I kind of switched over to PreSonus's Studio One to finish that project, and I've come to realize I really do like Studio One a lot. So I'm going to use Studio One as the DAW to explain the fundamentals for this beginner's course. The reason for that is Studio One is very music-oriented software. And I know most of you, if not all of you, are interested in recording and mixing music. Also, Studio One Artist version is not very expensive. And if you decide to use Studio One, the artist version does 80% of what the professional version does. So let's get going and jump right into it, shall we? Here's part 1 of DAW Fundamentals. Enjoy.
Okay, basic structure of a DAW. We're in Studio One. This is the DAW we're going to use as an example. Okay, so what are the main elements of a DAW? Well, first thing is what we've already covered a little bit, and that's preferences. You have areas and preferences for different things. General, you can control the language, the appearance. The next area of preferences here is locations, all right? User data. This is where you tell it to default to put songs and projects. Sound sets is factory sounds that come with the software, and I usually let the software put it where it normally wants to put it. That way it operates more efficiently. Audio setup. This is we've already covered all this. External devices. This is things that are on USB ports. This fader port 8 thing here, it is a mixing control surface. And this MPK Akai, it is a MIDI keyboard and controller. So the next thing is work windows, and I'm going to cover these one at a time. The first work window, the main work window, is what we're looking at right now. This is what's known as the sequencer. This is where you can see the layout of your song with all the different elements at a bird's eye kind of view. What you have in here is tracks. All right, and you see we have 4 tracks over here right now. The first kind of tracks are audio tracks, which here's an example right here.
7 years ago.
That's just me saying a famous line from Abraham Lincoln. That's an audio track. Then you have instrument tracks. This right here that says presence, this here, that is an instrument track. Here is what the instrument looks like. It's this keyboard. You can see the keys being played. They're being triggered by MIDI notes. Okay, so that's an instrument track. Another thing that you can see is automation parameters. Here on this audio track, on Audio 3, you can see that there's volume and pan automation. Those are default automation parameters that are available to you to edit in the sequencer. Events over time happen on the horizontal. So you see that time is divided into measures here because we're dealing with music. Boom, measure 1 through measure 8. And we're looking at quarter note divisions right there. We want to look at 8th note divisions, we can do that. Okay, so time is on the horizontal. Time is divided into measures. And then, of course, the vertical is the tracks, the elements that you have. You can see there's different sorts of tracks. We have VCA tracks, bus tracks, effects tracks, instrument tracks, audio tracks. So there's different kinds of tracks that have different kinds of information in them, and you can see them pretty easily. All right, the next area of the sequencer window is the toolbar up here at the top. Now, we have tools to do certain tasks that we can manipulate the elements, the events in our sequencer in the timeline. This is a select tool. You can see you can grab something, drag it around. That's a selection tool. You got a tool up here to cut things with, a knife, very handy. That comes in handy when you're doing editing. This is an eraser. Let's get rid of that. Erase it. Gone. Okay, that's how that works. A paint tool. It enables us to draw lines of automation, volume moves, that sort of thing. That's what the paint tool does. This is a mute tool. Don't want to hear it. Here we go. Can't hear it now. Now we can hear it. Mute tool. Okay, this right here is a cue tool.
7 years. Fourscore.
Okay, anyway, that's a cue tool. So these are the tools for the events down below. This area here, these are tools to make things more efficient and to manipulate the feel of the tune. Quantization. This stands for quantization. It allows you to have a performance be tighter with the tempo or the meter of the track, depending upon how you have it set. This right here is a macro tool. It enables you to combine commands that you do over and over. If there's a task that you do that requires 3 or 4 commands, you can create a macro that you can put on one command and therefore improve your workflow efficiency. This is an input quantize tab here. When you're in record and you don't have this lit up, whatever you're playing, the actual feel of it goes down. If you want to correct your feel a little bit, you can turn this on and play more accurately. It takes away your feel and puts it more on the grid. The grid being the divisions of the timeline up here. We're in bars. Right now we're in quarter note divisions. As you can see, there's measure 2, measure 3, and here's your quarter notes. Eighth notes, get twice as many divisions. Okay, so that's the control of the feel of the tune in the toolbar up here. This right here either snaps you to the grid or allows you to grab things and put them wherever you want. So you can see we can put this right in the middle, but if we have it on snap, well, look at that, it snaps right to where it starts there. Then we have this right here is a ripple tool. Don't need to know about that right now. This is a scrolling tool. If we zoom in and we have our cursor here and we hit play, we see that when the cursor gets to the end of the screen, the page turns. So we stay with that cursor. If we turn this off, cursor goes away, we don't stay with the cursor. So that's what scrolling does for us. This is right here is Scratchpad. This is a thing that is particular to this program. This program has this feature called Scratchpads, which allows you to work on ideas and you don't have to have them actually in the song, but if you do like them, you can drag them into the song. Very nice feature of the program here. The next area of tools is this area here. This is a hide and show area for the tracks in the sequencer. You can see things. You can say, I don't want to look at this. I want to look at this. I don't want to look at this. So that's a great feature. All sequencers have that feature for the most part. Some don't actually, surprisingly enough. This next area here is other tools. This I stands for inspector, and what it does, any track you have highlighted, you can see some mix console features and some other features pertinent to that track depending upon what you have highlighted over here. So there we go. So that's the inspector there. Then we have, this is a settings tab for the sequence window. Different features for your editing capabilities, what you can see, some features of audio that you can select yes or no on. So those are just settings. Here is an automation, a global auto. You can either globally look at automation or globally not look at automation. This right here is a marker track. Markers are awesome. Markers are a great feature to have. You can see we got a start marker here, And if we want to add a marker where the cursor is now, we just hit, boom, hit this right here, and we get a marker. So that's, and we can drag that marker around if we want to. We can change the name of the marker. We can call that marker Farley if we want to. Bang, there's Farley. Okay, we can attach, we can say needs edit. And there you go. You got a little thing telling you, oh, I got to remember, there's an edit I need to do there. So markers are a great thing. Arranger track. This is fun. The Arranger track is a global editing tool. Give you an idea how it works. If you have intro, verse, chorus, okay? Now we want to, I think the verse needs to come after the chorus. Well, you can just grab this, do that, and look at that. We've rearranged the entire damn song very quickly and easily. A neat tool that they came up with there. I like that a whole lot. Tempo track. This is a great feature. All sequencers have this, and it gives you the ability to change the tempo of the track per whatever you're doing as far as your writing goes. You can even do it in hindsight. So if this particular piece of music, okay, so there we are. That's our tempo. Hey, let's change the tempo in a couple of spots, right? Let's grab that paint tool. Let's change our tempo. There's some wild tempo swings. Nobody would ever do this, but here's what the result would be. That's a pretty cool thing. Actually, I do this. I use the tempo change a whole lot to change the feel of a tune. A drummer will, play in time, and then he'll drag a little bit or get a little bit on top of it. So drummers are usually just subtly going around the tempo, and I'll do that. I'll use the tempo to do that in order to make sure that my songs don't feel too sterile. Okay, let's get rid of that crazy tempo change there. So that's tempo. So that's pretty much all the tools that we've got to use in the sequencer window. Let's move on. All right, the next area of the sequencer window is the transport area down here at the bottom. Now this mimics the transport of a tape recorder. You have play, stop, rewind, fast forward. See the cursor moving there? You can go to the end real fast, or you can go to the beginning real fast. Anyway, play, and this is record. This is for going into record. So if we start here, arm this track, hit play, punch in. Ba-ba, 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 ba-ba. All right then. Next thing is loops. You can create loops so you can work on areas of a song. And this right here in the transport, this turns loop on and off. Okay. So to get the idea, that's loops. This right here tells us where our loop starts and stops. This is the metronome area right here. You turn it on, turn it off. There's your choices of how you want it to sound or for it to count in for you. This is our meter. This is our tempo. So just information down here, and mainly this is for controlling how you're going to start, stop, record, rewind, fast forward. This right here deals with auto record, auto punch, which comes in real handy. So that's the transport area. All right, so that's pretty much all there is to the sequence window. It's the area where you get to see everything that's going on and you can get your hands on things quickly. So that's the end of part 1 of DAW Basics, where we learn the basic features of the sequencer in a digital audio workstation. In part 2, I'm going to show you the basic features of the typical mixing console. Every DAW has a mixing console. Then we'll take a look at Studio One's browser window, where you can find everything you need for your song, except, of course, how to write it. Then we wrap it up with a feature tour of the edit window. So if you haven't already done it, please subscribe and watch the entire series of the Home Studio for Beginners series here at Record, Mix, Repeat. I'm your host, Rusty Smith, and thanks for watching.